Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to everyone who is new. So, we are going to get into it today with a reading about just kind of what's happening with your person. And I know we'll focus a little bit more on what's happening with your person when we get into tomorrow's live stream, but we're going to start out here. It'll be a general reading for this collective. So that means it won't resonate with everybody, shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it's you, if it resonates with you, then maybe subscribe, maybe jump in there and see if there are some other messages that might be good for you to hear, because all of these messages, all of these readings are very much connected. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and jump in. And we're going to start with the energy around your person. So a lot of times we'll do kind of a broad energetic backdrop. Sometimes we do the energy between the two of you. Today we're just going to kind of focus on what the energy looks like with your person. So this is kind of leading into tomorrow's live stream, where one person had requested that we look at all about the divine masculine. And I think what we're doing here is getting a little bit of a sneak preview. So, okay. And the other reason that I thought it would be good to look at this person today was because there feels like there's been a little bit of a turn in the energy. And this makes it feel like it's a little bit of a downturn. Let's see. We've got the Seven of Wands and let's see, Princess of Wands, both of which are in reverse. Princess of Wands is kind of like that Page of Wands kind of, it's that Page of Wands kind of energy, but when it's in the reverse like that, what we're really looking at is it feels like depression. It feels like a sense of depression and kind of losing their nerve. This is a person who, thought they were something different than they're finding out that they are. And it may be manifesting in small ways. They thought they'd be able to talk to you and they can't make themselves hit send, or they thought they'd be able to stay quiet and they can't make themselves not hit send. It does seem to be communication oriented, but it also seems to be kind of, it's you oriented. Like the energy that's happening around them right now seems to be a little bit you oriented, but I also get the sense that there's a little bit of something going on. I'll keep my mouth shut about the third party for now. Okay, so the Ace of Cups, yeah, so they're feeling like they're kind of in a corner a little bit. And that's not usually what you get from the Ace of Cups. But when it comes out under these contexts, in this context with the the Eight of Pentacles in reverse like this is not having the emotional self-mastery. Over here, it's losing your nerve and finding out you're not the person that you thought you were in some way that seems oriented around communication. And here, this is emotion. This is the flow of emotion and not being able to get it out there for some reason. Not being able to get it out there because like they can't. There's something about it that doesn't allow them to do that. It's something that's like a defense mechanism that's kicking in, that's stopping them from communicating properly, or it's something that like they are really hanging on to something that they know they need to change about themselves. And that's coming out very strongly in this energy as well. Probably, it feels like it's like right below the surface of kind of what's happening with them. So here we have the Princess of Swords. We've got the Princess of Wands over here, and then we also have the Princess of Swords, both of them showing up in reverse. So this is again reiterating the sense of losing their nerve. This is someone who is feeling a little bit like they're retracting, like they're breaking down. They could be having an emotional breakdown in this kind of energy. It is definitely not an easy place for them to be, but it's like surprisingly difficult. It's a surprisingly difficult kind of energy for them, because I think they thought they were on the up, and now they feel like they're not so much going up. That's where the depression the edge of the depression starts to kick in. And some of them, it's more than just an edge. They are learning something and they're recognizing they're not at so they thought they were at the end of some kind of road, and they're getting there, and they're like, it's the top of this hill, and they get there and they realize the road continues for a long time and there are some more big hills to climb. Not that they can't do it, just that they feel incredibly daunted right now. There's a sense of them saying, wow, I did think I was going to be able to do better than this. Like it's frustration and disappointment, but they're becoming aware of something, and I feel like it's they're becoming aware of how much longer the road is, or how much longer they need to be traveling it. I mean, it's a sense of disappointment, but it's not a sense of, okay, well, maybe I'll just give up, because it doesn't feel like they can give up. There is something happening in their household. So I said I was going to keep my mouth shut around the third party, but this is that third party kind of energy. So there's something happening here within, not specifically their household, it could just be within their living environment. So I would consider, like your work environment to be part of your living environment. And so I don't mean necessarily just their house, but the life that they live in. There's something changing about their lifestyle. I do feel them still kind of relying kind of heavily on your strength, but it's like the shadow of your strength, and as if they don't expect that you will be there to catch them if they fall, under this energy. So sometimes you kind of get this sense that they're feeling very confident about themselves. This is a very broken down, down on themselves sort of feeling like they've chased you away, feeling like they've, let the circumstances between you die so much that they wouldn't be able to revive them. And maybe they're going through a time where they would especially like to revive them, but they've lost their nerve, partially because they feel like you will have, they really rely on your strength a lot. And they kind of feel like maybe you're the type of strong person who might not wait around for them. It's kind of that. And we know that you didn't come into this with a weak self-worth. Most of you have a pretty decent self-worth. And then if you add to that, the circumstances around this situation has kind of tested that and brought it to new heights. This worries me a little bit. So we have a Nine of Swords in the reverse, which is anxiety reversed. Ordinarily, I think that's a really good energy, but I worry about it a little bit because, they've got that depression energy going on. This is almost the, I just don't have the capacity to feel too strongly about much of anything kind of feeling. It's, not dangerously terrifying. It's just really, feels like nothingness. It's that sense of feeling like nothingness that you sometimes can get into in a depressive state. And I wonder if maybe that's kind of, it feels like that it's almost a story that's happening here. They're getting to the top of the hill. They're seeing that there's a lot more path left. They're having, a breakdown of this load of some kind, and then ultimately kind of succumbing to the depression a little bit. It does feel temporary, but it feels like it's a rough day. I mean, it's got the sense of a rough day, and just them not feeling very resilient in this energy. So, okay, good to know, but it also feels like the third party energy that is happening on their side. So as the way that we've defined third party, it's anything that's outside of you guys. So it could have pre-existed your situation. So if they have a spouse, for example, and they've been married for 20 years, and you met them a year ago, that spouse would still be considered a third party, even though they were there prior to your relationship. So it's not who was there first, or, kind of the nature of it. Is it one or two of you? Is it one of you, or is it some circumstance outside of you that is, creating some energetic focus for you? And so that's really kind of what that third party is. So whatever is happening here, and I do get the sense it's work or home oriented, could be somewhere in their family that isn't in their immediate home, but there's this sense of something changing in there, and it's taken its toll on them. Okay, let's take a little bit more of a look into it, like just kind of what this is, because I mean that's the energy around them right now, is that there's a sense of sadness. There's definitely a sense of sadness and depression. Let's see, we've got the Fool. Okay, so this is the kind of energy that causes them to regroup, and when I say that it causes them to regroup, it's not the kind of energy that I'm predicting will cause them to regroup. I mean, they've done this before, and when they're done, they regroup. So they regroup and they start moving toward their happiness. Wow, what does that mean? I feel like we've got one more, that comes out there. Start moving toward their happiness. So this is like, here we're having a really bad day, a really difficult day, but it looks like it moves into a very positive place. That's just really not bad at all. Oh, except for there's the devil card. So why are we moving into, why is the cycle happening? I think is maybe the question that comes out for me with this devil card. So there's still a cycle. I mentioned that, and I felt this strongly. I'm not predicting that that's what they're going to do. I'm saying that that's what this person has a tendency to do when they get out of this situation. They then reorient, they rebuild. It's like they rebuild and they start moving toward their happiness, but then they shortchange themselves in some way, fairly predictably. So there's a cycle. There's a pretty strong cycle this person is engaged in. And you, I think, have been caught up in it. You're meaning in a meaningful way. Like you represent something very special to them. But unfortunately, it is a codependent sort of cycle. It's like, I got to take this jacket off. It feels like it's a codependent or sort of narcissistic cycle almost. And definitely, I'm not out here in the business of, determining who is a narcissist and who is not. I'm not diagnosing anyone. But I will call out a narcissistic tendency if I see one, and there is a kind of a feeling there. So I would say do a little bit of research on that if you haven't already. See if it's something that you see yourself in, because it's really an interesting dynamic that occurs with this person, because they have so much of a cycle that I think they are aware of more of a cycle than maybe some people are. It comes directly out of something that has happened in their childhood. And I think that the reason that they are as aware of this cycle as they are is because something is already in motion with it with regard to this third party. Now, I've said before that when this person manifested you in, they had, they had they had already been working on something around changing their values, something around changing their values because it's also associated with this thing that happened to them when they were younger. So they've been in the process of trying to fix this for some time. They are in the active process right now of making change. And that's kind of what causes this cycle to move to the next step. The problem is it's like moving to the next step, but it's got a portion of it where it goes backwards. So they never actually get to move forward too much, but they do get a lot of, it's got a lot of oomph. It's got a lot of power to it. It's got a lot of, when they start going, the charisma rises incredibly high. So what I see is, after this energy comes a new energy where they cycle into having a lot of that charisma, being ready to move forward. I feel like it's at odds with the, that that feeling, that King of Cups feeling of integrity that we saw yesterday. I feel like this is a little bit at odds with that integrity, but I feel like that's exactly the sort of thing that they might be able to sweep under the carpet when they're feeling good. And this is the sense of, now I'm going to be feeling good. And so, it's kind of a nice thing, but I think what we're looking at here is a little bit of a pattern. I'm curious to know a little bit more about this. But I mean, I guess, they come out of their sadness, they like catapult out of it, and it looks like it's almost like a manic sort of phase. If you've ever seen someone, and I'm not suggesting bipolar here either, although you may have some folks here that there's a little bit of that vibe in the collective. So, but that's not surprising. It's a pretty common thing. So we've got the Two of Pentacles here. We've got the Two of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. Here's that sense of underlying disappointment because of that integrity that they've got. So there's something that's happened here recently with their healing, where we've seen it. We've seen it in some of the recent readings where they've started to become a little bit more aware of themselves, a little bit more aware of not necessarily the impact of their actions. Like, I feel like they are aware of that, and they have done a good job of ignoring that. But in a lot of cases here recently, they're having a harder time ignoring it because they're starting to feel like it's a breach of integrity. And so there's a part of them that really kind of wants to rewrite that about themselves, but maybe an even stronger part that wants to stay in the cycle that they're in. So the Two of Pentacles usually means balance, but in this case it means remaining on balance, which simply, in this case, pretty much means not getting out of their cycle. So we have a Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords and a Chariot. This is really intense when it happens. Like, watch out. This has that sense of, if you're familiar with the concept of the narcissistic cycle, there's the love bombing part of the cycle. This feels like really intense love bombing and possibly the type you maybe not seen before. In fact, it might look really good even as you start to get below the surface, because you'll notice that it feels like they're finally giving you what you received or what you should be receiving. There's kind of this equal give and take kind of feeling going on. But what you'll notice is there is actually something else happening here. So watch for this. I'm not saying they can't heal while they're in this situation, but they're going to be coming to you in a situation where they are not healed and they are very much leaning on you for like a sense of emotional stability. That I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you figure into this cycle that they're doing, because you figure in very differently than a normal situation for them. This is not a normal situation for them. This has risen beyond normal situation. It rose beyond normal situation with them when they tried to forget it and walk away like normal, and it didn't work. But it's like it's gotten into some really bizarre loop here that, and I say bizarre, it's like it's bizarre from their perspective. Okay, it's these two. Okay, so we have the Nine of Cups. Oh boy, they think you're what makes them happy. Um, okay, so they think you're what makes them happy, and they're ready to let go of something. So we've also got kind of these minor cards here. Both of these look like honorable mentions to me. We've got the Justice card and in the reverse, and the Five of Pentacles in the upright. So the Five of Pentacles in the upright is talking about what we were just saying here. They're remarkably unhealed, but they're wanting to kind of keep their cycle going, but they also want to break with what's happening in their life right now. So they don't recognize that it's a cycle they're looking to keep going. They're wanting to break with something in their life right now. This Justice card kind of feels like an echo of that message. They want to move toward their happiness, which is very much what we see here with the Fool and the Sun card. And ordinarily, I would just look at those and say, wow, those are really fantastic. They're moving in your direction. But the level at which they're unhealed is kind of maybe disruptive. It seems like it's a little bit disruptive. There's a lot going on there that I'm curious to see how they bring it. Maybe that's a little bit what we'll look at into when we get into the extended, just kind of what you can expect from this person, because this is basically, I'm in a low point and I'm getting ready to take off into what starts out like a manic episode and moves into making some significant changes, or maybe making the best of some significant changes that are maybe happening over here, happening kind of in the now, and they haven't figured out how to move past the depression part of it yet. Let's take a look at you and what you could be doing in this energy. So based on what's on the table here, we're going to take a look at you. And then when we get into the extended, we're going to look into a little bit more what you can expect from this person, or what they're kind of moving in the direction of, because we see that Fool card there. So like, what does that mean? We dug into a little bit of what was happening within them, like psychologically, like what is even happening here. But let's look a little bit more into what they're likely to do and where the energy is likely to take them. So for you, it's about where's your focus, given everything else that's sitting out here in this reading on this table. Let's see, we've got the Death card in the reverse and the Six of Pentacles in the reverse. Okay, so Six of Pentacles in the reverse. This one is about being very aware when you're not being treated equally, not being treated properly. And I think you're going to see that. You're going to see it a little bit in just your everyday life. You're going to become aware of a situation or two where you're not getting out of it what you're putting in. That's essentially what this is. So you've got an opportunity to make a change. It might be you're getting treated poorly in a job, and you have an opportunity to make a change to a different job, but for some reason you're not taking it. It's got that kind of feel to it. And I don't get the sense that there's no reason for this, but I do get the sense that you may want to reevaluate it, see if the time is right. because it may be you weren't looking at this different job because of a set of political circumstances, or it was a money thing, and now you're saying, hold on, I've gotten myself into a slightly different place and I want to take a look at it. It just bears re-looking at. I get that sense that just kind of bears re-looking at, but don't overthink it. You do have a tendency to overthink it this time. You also have a good strong ability to recognize when you're doing it, so recognize it and do something about it when you feel like you're overthinking. You're part of the reason that you kind of might find yourself a little bit engaged in overthinking to a point that, like, beyond normal, is you have had a very successful period of learning lessons, and it's kind of like you haven't had a chance to put all these lessons into play yet, which is part of why we get the overthinking. But you've got a lot more self trust, and you've got some emotional freedom, is really the only way I can think to describe this Three of Swords. So we've got the Eight of Swords. This is very swordsy. There's a lot of thought. And some, it's like communication, but within the self. You might find yourself thinking in words. If you're somebody who typically thinks in concepts, you might find more words in your mind. So we've got the Eight of Swords. We have the Seven of Swords in the reverse, which is just the way I like to see it in this context. We have the Three of Swords in the reverse, also great to see, and the Five of Swords in reverse. All of the ones that are in reverse, the three, the five, and the seven, are fantastic to see in reverse, because this one is about you no longer deceiving yourself. With the Five of Swords, it's about no longer throwing good energy after bad. And these are all areas of focus. So it may not be things that you're quite doing just yet, but the energy's right for you to move into this place. But it's also right for you to overthink. So watch out. But to not throw good energy after bad, to not have to this reminds me again of the thing where I was embarrassingly far into my educational career before I figured out that your goal is to get into the next program, not necessarily just to keep a really high grade point average. I mean, obviously those two things go together. But when I was in a final degree program, I realized I could literally just pass or fail. Now that realization, and so take this and apply it. That realization that pass or fail is the only thing that really matters does not necessarily mean you don't still try to strive for perfection and excellence, because it's what you maybe have always done. But just that realization and learning to live by it kind of takes a little bit of it doesn't take the pressure off in ways that it's like pressure that shouldn't be there anyway. It kind of right sizes it. So you have the ability to do that, and that is a startlingly awesome gift. This is the time to do it, especially with the Seven of Swords in reverse. Like, this is you taking charge. So whatever this is that you are not doing for whatever reason, and I get that you have your reasons, reevaluate. It's time to reevaluate, because the circumstances within you have actually changed. And it is very much in light of what else is happening here. So as things have developed here, you guys with your connection, and the kind of they're utilizing you for a little bit of strength. You could be utilizing them for a little bit of something too. But it's difficult to say what you actually need from them at this time. It isn't that you need communication, although that would be nice. Problem is that their communication would come in incredibly unhealed, but it looks like that's probably going to happen anyway. I mean, I'm not going to say foregone conclusion, because you can't say that in this collective, but it's got that sense of the cycle is turning, but not in a wheel of fortune sort of way, where with the wheel of fortune it would be things are actually changing. This is like part of the cycle, they go backwards. Like I was saying, they're not actually getting anywhere different, but there is a desire to, and a greater awareness of that. With you have a greater awareness of kind of just where you stand, your awareness of yourself, your awareness of why you make decisions. These are great things for you to be aware of, but try not to overthink. The Three of Swords, though, that's about you being able to utilize and be aware of lessons that you've learned. Lessons around this situation that made you feel very brokenhearted. Once you've gone through them a few times in your head, you're able to kind of see them for what they are a little bit more, or at least see them for more of what they are. As you work through it, you will continue to have that kind of adjustment, or the adjustment to the way you're seeing it. Let me pick up a couple of cards. Okay. I just tossed a whole bunch of them. They fanned out on the floor, but none of them wanted to be part of the reading. So, what else about you? What should you be focusing on? I mean, as if you don't have enough. There's definitely, this is very you focused energy. So, now we have more swords. Four of swords, looking at your healing. Oh, and we have wands. Look for, and these two are very much coming out together. Four of swords and nine of wands. So, the four of swords is about rest, rejuvenation, healing, giving yourself the time. Nine of Wands is all about resistance. So look for the places that you see the resistance and ask yourself why. It's similar to the question around the death card. Why is it that you would not be moving forward on something? So you've got the Five of Wands here. There may be a need to drop some of that resistance and allow things to flow. Take a look at the situation. Nothing is telling you here that that's the right answer. What it's telling you is you may need to consider that. These are places where you want to focus given this energy and given the energy that you're in. We also have the Emperor card. So this is all about balance and giving yourself what you need, okay? It's self reliance, but it's also like the ability to, it's got that head of household kind of vibe. And it's not saying you should take over the head of household sort of situation if you don't already live that. It's more a matter of being capable of it, seeing yourself as quite capable, seeing yourself as the source where things come from. You're the breadwinner kind of vibe. It's got that. It doesn't have to do necessarily with money. It's all about being the center of that type of energy. Much the same way the Queen of Pentacles is the center of that. Is the other half of the King of Pentacles type of energy, because it's really the King of Pentacles that's coming out of this Emperor here with that providing sort of energy. And it's a very Pentacles feeling Emperor. Just, watch for it to make sure you're not overdoing it. Make sure you're not going into a place of over control or, and that's one of the dangers that can happen with that. Your guidance is to seek balance here. I think you're always seeking balance, but your guidance in this energy is particularly to look for what that means, because it looks like maybe it means something different from what it always would have meant in the past. We know our lives are constantly changing, but what you need constantly changes too. Let it happen. Lean into the change. We have the Death card here, and this is all about letting one thing end so that another thing can grow in its place. What's here to grow in its place is truly, it's truly going to change everything for you. So it feels like that's part of what is needed to get you across the bridge. Maybe we look at that bridge for you a little bit in the extended. Definitely, we're going to start with the extended, asking about what's kind of happening with your person. We see what's happening with them psychologically, but it's a matter of, well, how does that translate into their next actions? So we'll take a look at that when we get into the extended. The link for the extended is down below if you would like to go there with me. I will look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow in the live stream.